The story of the Chengdu J-7, also known as the Chinese-built version of the legendary MiG-21, is one that reflects both the Cold War era and China's determination to establish itself as a strong aerospace power. When we talk about the J-7, we are not just talking about a simple fighter jet, we are discussing a machine that became the backbone of China's air force for decades, and one that spread its wings far beyond Chinese borders. The MiG-21, originally developed by the Soviet Union, was one of the most successful fighter jets in aviation history. Its design was sleek, fast, and effective. During the 1960s, China sought to acquire this jet from its Soviet ally. At first, China received kits and technical assistance to build the aircraft locally. However, political tensions between Moscow and Beijing quickly escalated, and the Soviet Union withdrew its support. That left China with partially complete blueprints and unfinished projects. But instead of abandoning the program, Chinese engineers decided to push forward on their own, reverse engineering and modifying the jet. The result of their determination was the J-7. The J-7 first flew in 1966, and it immediately became clear that this fighter was going to serve as the backbone of China's air force. With a delta-wing design, sharp nose intake, and simple structure, the aircraft was relatively easy to produce in large numbers. It was capable of speeds up to Mach 2, making it one of the fastest fighters of its time. Although it was not as advanced in avionics or weaponry compared to Western jets, its speed, climb rate, and agility made it a strong adversary in dogfights. China not only mass-produced the J-7 for its own use but also exported it under various designations, including the F-7, to many nations around the world. Countries across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East purchased the aircraft because it was affordable, simple to maintain, and combat-proven. From Pakistan to Egypt, from Bangladesh to Tanzania, the F-7 found a home in dozens of air forces. In fact, Pakistan became one of the largest operators of the J-7 series, using upgraded versions such as the F-7PG, which featured improved avionics, better radar, and enhanced missile systems. The J-7 also became a platform for experimentation and continuous improvement. Over the decades, China produced numerous variants of the aircraft. Some were optimized for interception roles, others were improved with Western-style avionics, and still others were adapted into trainers for new generations of pilots. Each new variant represented a step forward in Chinese aerospace engineering. Although the core design was always rooted in the original MiG-21, the J-7 family of aircraft gradually became a distinctly Chinese product. In combat terms, the J-7 was always considered a lightweight interceptor rather than a true multi-role fighter. Its design limited its range and payload capacity, but in the hands of a skilled pilot, the aircraft could be extremely dangerous in close-range engagements. Its speed allowed it to rapidly respond to intrusions, and its small profile made it harder to detect visually. Armed with short-range air-to-air missiles and a twin-barrel cannon, the J-7 was best suited for defensive operations. As technology advanced, however, the limitations of the J-7 became more apparent. Against fourth-generation fighters like the American F-16 or the Russian Su-27, the J-7 was clearly outclassed. China recognized this, and while it continued to produce upgraded versions for export, it simultaneously developed newer aircraft like the J-10, J-11, and eventually the stealthy J-20. Still, the J-7 remained in frontline service for far longer than many expected. In fact, some variants are still flying today, though mostly in secondary roles or in smaller air forces around the world. What makes the J-7 remarkable is not just its technical performance, but its historical and strategic significance. This was the aircraft that allowed China to bridge the gap between reliance on Soviet designs and the creation of indigenous fighters. It represented self-reliance during a time when China was politically isolated. For many nations that could not afford expensive Western jets, the J-7 provided a capable and budget-friendly alternative. For pilots, it was often the stepping stone that allowed them to transition from basic trainers to high-performance combat aircraft. The legacy of the J-7 is also visible in how it shaped China's defense industry. By mastering the production of such a complex fighter at a time when resources were limited, China gained invaluable experience in aerospace engineering, mass production, and export marketing. This experience laid the foundation for the much more advanced aircraft that came later. Without the J-7, there might not have been a J-10 or a J-20. Today, when we look at the J-7, it may appear outdated compared to modern stealth fighters and advanced multi-role jets. But its impact cannot be underestimated. With more than 2,400 units produced and exported to over a dozen countries, it is one of the most widely built and flown fighter jets in history. For many air forces, it symbolized strength and independence. For China, it was the beginning of a journey that transformed its air force into one of the most powerful in the world. The J-7 may have started as a copy of the MiG-21, but it became much more than that. It became a symbol of determination, resilience, and progress. It was a machine that gave China its wings, and in doing so, changed the balance of air power across multiple regions. Even as it gradually retires from active service, the J-7's story remains a crucial chapter in the history of global defense power.